Welcome to the You on the Camino de Santiago podcast. This podcast is for and about first-time pilgrims walking the pilgrimage routes in Spain, France, and Portugal. With your host, guide and longtime pilgrim, Nancy Reynolds of the Camino Experience. Welcome to part 2 of my After the Camino update episodes. Hi, this is Nancy, back to catch you up on some of the changes that have happened for the start of this walking season, and also to talk about a topic that is near and dear to anyone and everyone who has walked one of the Camino routes. The updates I'm going to share are important for anyone heading out to walk the Camino this year, so that would be first-time pilgrims and anyone planning to walk the Francés route again. I will be talking about the new pilgrim registration requirements, some changes to the luggage transport services, some new places to get gear on the Francés route, and my personal favorite, where to find the best pizza on the Francés. So, things to know if you are getting ready to walk the Camino. And the other topic, the one that is for everyone. Spoiler alert, the topic is how do we bring home our Camino experience? Now, if you want to skip ahead to that because you've already walked and you don't have plans to walk this year, check the show notes for the timestamp where you'll find that topic starting in this recording, and you can jump ahead to that. If you are new to this podcast, you are jumping in right in the middle of a conversation. If you're getting ready for your first ever pilgrimage on one of the Camino routes, you may want to go back to the very beginning and start with episode 1 in season 1. That first season of the podcast walks you through all the big questions you need to answer to get your Camino on the calendar. Okay, let's get started with those updates, and then we will talk about bringing the Camino home. Here we go. Starting with the new system for registering your personal details. There have been reports over the past months that Spain now requires hotels and albergues, well, any place tourists and pilgrims sleep, to collect a vast amount of personal data on their guests. This would be a nightmare for the average pilgrim who is staying at, 30 or more places during their pilgrimage? So, good news, it's not that crazy. And it's also not uniformly implemented, so be prepared for some inconsistencies. I would expect things to change and evolve over time, so you may encounter something slightly different than what I am about to describe when you do finally get to the Camino. Here's the story from May 2025. If you are starting in Saint-Jean-Pied-du-Port, the Pilgrim's Office will instruct you to scan a QR code and register your personal details using an online system called Pilgrim Pass. The online form collects a bunch of information, including your name, birth date, home address, contact details, and passport number. It also requires you to enter details about your pilgrimage, such as the route you're walking, your starting point, your reason for doing the pilgrimage, and your religion. What it doesn't ask for is financial information. You don't have to enter any credit card or bank information. I just want to make sure that's clear. Some people have reported having trouble entering their birth date into the system, so remember that in Europe, the day comes first, not the month. If you are staying at the albergue in Roncesvalles, and if you booked your bed in advance, you likely will get an email from the albergue suggesting you complete your registration before you arrive. This is a great idea, as it speeds up the check-in process for an albergue that hosts 200 plus pilgrims a night. Once you submit your information online, you receive a confirmation email with a QR code, which you will then show when you check in at places that use this one registration system. There are at least 2 registration systems. That's what I discovered when I was there in May. There's the one I just described called Pilgrim Pass, and the other one I encountered is called Aloha. Once you register for each system, you will have your QR code, and then you only need to provide your QR code if it is asked for at check-in. Do you need to worry about this? Do you need to ensure you are set up in advance? No. You'll be instructed as to what to do when you check in at your accommodations. But if you would like to get ahead of this, I have the link to Pilgrim Pass for you in the show notes. Just be sure to save the email confirmation you receive after registration so you can refer to it easily when you're on the Camino. Or better yet, take a screenshot of the QR code and simply show that when asked. Also, let me mention this. Some places are not yet using either of these systems, so you may be asked to provide your details in writing. This is a perfect example of how we need to be flexible and adaptable on the Camino. Everything will become clear the moment you really need clarity. The next update I want to share is in the realm of the luggage transport services on the Camino Francés. You may have heard about this fabulous service where a company moves your luggage stage by stage along the Camino as you walk the trail, so you don't have to carry everything. There are many companies that provide this service, and they are all similar but slightly different in how they set things up. The short version of how this works is that you can either set up your entire itinerary online before you leave home, or you can set it up from the trail several days in advance, or you can set it up day by day as you go. If you set it up online, you pay with a credit card. And if you set it up day by sending a WhatsApp message to the carrier, you can pay with cash. However you do it, you need to have a label or tag on your luggage so the driver who picks up your bag knows where to take it. In most places, the tag is an envelope, and you write your name, contact information, and destination on the envelope. You put the money inside, or you write your confirmation code on the outside if you booked online, and you attach it to the bag. You then drop your bag at the designated pickup spot by 8 a.m. the day of transport, and voila, your luggage is at your destination by 2:30 or earlier that afternoon. The update today on the luggage transport services is for the Hacotrans service on the Francés route, and it applies to the stretch from Logroño to Burgos. Here's the update. Hacotrans are currently not accepting cash payments in this section, and they no longer have envelopes available at all the different accommodations. Instead, if you want to use Hacotrans in this area, you need to notify them online on their website and pay by credit card. Then, rather than using an envelope to identify your luggage and destination, you instead use one of the small labels provided at reception where you're staying. The labels require only 2 pieces of information, your name and the destination. The price is still the same though, €6 per stage, but you need to have a discount code to get the €6 price online. You got a pen? The discount code is DAG. If you don't have that code, the price is €7 per stage. And that's only if you're booking online. Cash, it's €6 per stage. Until you reach Sarria, it may go down. The reason that the Logroño to Burgos section has made the change is that due to a personnel loss, they had to make the system more streamlined. I am wondering if all of Hacotrans will eventually switch to this system. I guess we'll have to wait and see. There is one other update related to luggage transport on the Francés route. I am guessing that the transport companies have gotten a bit tired of hauling around oversized and overweight bags. And now a couple of the companies are charging more if your bag is over their weight limit. Specifically, if your bag is over the Hacotrans limit of 15 kilos, you could get hit with an additional €10 charge per stage. Additional. Got that? Another company, NCS, is taking a more transparent approach and now has 2 price tiers. Up to 15 kilos, it's €6 per stage. And if you're 16 to 20 kilos, it's €10 per stage. Notice there's no option for more than 20 kilos. I'm not quite sure how Correos is handling this. That's the Spanish post office. But their website is very clear that their weight limit is 15 kilos. Here's the moral of the story. If your luggage is over 15 kilos, check with the transport company to be sure you are paying the correct amount. That will prevent unexpected charges on your credit card, and it will ensure your luggage is delivered as expected each day. That's our goal anyway, right? Let's switch gears now and talk about gear and where to get it. I know I've mentioned this before, but there is a fantastic shop in Pamplona that sells everything a pilgrim needs, and only things that pilgrims need. The shop is called Camino-grade, and it is owned and operated by 2 Hungarian pilgrims who have curated their inventory for us. If, for example, you are passing through Pamplona before going to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, you could stop at Camino-grade to pick up your poncho and trekking poles. If after 3 to 4 days on the trail from Saint-Jean, you realize you need a sleeping bag or a sleep sack or different boots, maybe another pair of socks, some lamb's wool or compeed, a guidebook, journal or hat, a pin for your backpack or a bracelet with a Camino symbol on it, or a scallop shell, a fleece or puffy jacket, a day pack or a knee brace, or just about anything else, Camino-grade in Pamplona has what you need. They even have a stamp for your credencial. And new this year, Camino-grade also operates 2 vending machines with many of the items pilgrims need. Those are in Zubiri and Zorain, which are on the stage before you reach Pamplona. And good news, the prices in the vending machine are exactly what you would pay at the shop in Pamplona. Now, I want to jump a long way down the trail and give a shout out to the best pizza on the Camino Francés. You can trust me on this. I have done the research. I think I've eaten every pizza available on this route, and I have found the best. So if this place can fit into your itinerary, great. It's called Rock and Roll Pizza, and it's located in La Portela de Valcarce, which is 38 kilometers after the city of Ponferrada, which, as you may know, is the home of the Templar Castle. The owner, David, is the founder of Rock and Roll Pizza in Southern California, and he has imported the recipes and tastes of his best pies. He and his partner, Kira, also run an albergue, and they serve up a beautiful pizza-based pilgrim's menu every night. Hopefully you can grab one of their 4 beds, but if not, if you are staying in the area, walk over and ask to join them for the meal. They are also open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings to serve pizza to their loyal local crowd. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already, yeah? Now I want to spend the rest of this episode talking about coming home from the Camino. Why? Because coming home is an essential part of the pilgrimage experience, and possibly the hardest part. I have come home from the Camino many times over the past 20 years, and every time it's hard. You'd think I'd get better at this, right? But I think it's just that I forget what's coming when I get home. I get so immersed in the experience of being on the Camino, of being in Spain, and of being in the alternative world of international travel that I forget that life has continued on at home as normal. Walking the Camino is anything but normal. It is so far out of the box, so far out of the predictable routine life at home. And when we are on the Camino, we become this other version of ourselves. We are doing things differently than at home. We are thinking different thoughts and feeling different feelings. We stretch our wings into a new sense of freedom, and we find inspiration daily, sometimes hourly. which gives us a heightened sense of connection to our own inner emotions and to the people around us. It's as if all of our favorite parts of ourselves are on high alert, humming along to our favorite tune. At least that's what it feels like to me. But then we get home. We suddenly stop doing everything we were doing on the Camino. We stop walking for hours every day. We no longer have to use our mad pilgrim skills to find food and shelter. We move indoors. The simplicity of life on the trail evaporates. And then everything we were focused on for the month or more on the trail shifts to be replaced by those familiar yet perhaps unsatisfying routines at home. When we leave the Camino, when we return home, our routines naturally have to change. The rhythm of our day changes, and it's a bit disorienting. I'll share a bit about my recent experience coming home from the Camino, and let's see if those of you who have already walked can relate. One of the ways I deal with stress in general, and in specific being back home from the Camino, is to eat. It's one of the ways I discover and interact with and experience the world. When I'm traveling, I explore where I am by finding the best cake or the best ice cream or pizza in the city that I'm visiting. It's also what I do when I don't have anyone to talk to. Let me just say, thank goodness I am out of ice cream, and I'm not going to buy any more for at least a week. Okay, you heard it here. I have been sharing with you along the way here my weight loss journey, and overall it's been going well, or at least it was going well until I got back from the Camino. This is when it got hard. See, I even lost 2 pounds on my last trip, which is unusual for me because of the previously mentioned method of exploring places by eating whatever good stuff is on offer. And even with walking for hours a day on the Camino, I don't usually lose weight because I eat too much. But on this trip, I lost weight, and then I came home and honestly didn't adapt well. 2 things happened, actually. One, I got some news from a friend that while I was in Spain, they had received a bad medical diagnosis, and it leveled me. You know, the way it levels you when someone you love is going to be going through something truly horrible. Fortunately, the prognosis is good, but the journey ahead is awful. So that really hit me hard. And then 2, I made the mistake of isolating myself. Mainly, I didn't know how to deal with my grief for my friend, but also I was no longer being held in the structure of the Camino. What does that mean? Well, a pilgrimage on the Camino, by its nature, encourages connection, community, and collaboration. The way we walk the Camino with our modern expectations and also the infrastructure of the Camino actually support these things. We expect to meet people from all over the world, to share meals, to walk in deep conversation, to celebrate summiting the mountain. So it's easy to find people to talk to express how you feel and what you're thinking, and to share what's going on with you. When I got home, of course, everyone wanted to know how my trip went, but what do you say about a journey on the Camino? How do you talk about this unique experience, about the tender moments when you discovered your best and worst self, about the magical and not so magical moments you encountered on a daily basis? Talking about the Camino experience is one of our biggest challenges when we get home. What do people want to know about? What do we want to share, and with whom? And do we even know what we want to share, since so much of the journey was internal? I confess, I didn't handle it very well this time. I have been eating a bit too much, and I can tell you there are a lot of very interesting reels on Facebook. How do I know this? Well, because in the past couple of weeks, I have wasted hours on social media watching reels, avoiding dealing with how I felt. Now, in my defense, I have been collecting workout videos so I can, follow the 4 steps to perfectly defined arms and do the 3 best exercises for getting rid of postmenopausal belly fat. Yes, those do match up with my fitness and weight goals, so they weren't a total waste of time. I wonder if I should mention the other reels I was watching, though. Like how to make healthy, sugar-free and gluten-free desserts. Yeah, more desserts, that's good. Not good. And there was the Russian woman making fashionable outfits by using scarves as dresses and skirts as tops. And, of course, the 3 hunky hot guys dancing to Latin music. Okay, I mentioned them. But I mentioned them only to let you know that coming back from the Camino throws us off our game. And the contrast to being on the Camino is stark. I usually wouldn't spend that much time watching reels on Facebook. And again, in my defense, I have also spent a lot of time not disconnecting from the Camino by commenting on posts in many of the Camino Facebook groups, answering questions and correcting inaccurate information. So that's productive, right? Maybe I need to redefine all this. Maybe this is simply self-care, not expecting too much of myself, giving myself a break. I think I might have learned that on the Camino. Yeah, right? The truth is, I am longing to feel what I felt when I was on the Camino. Usually, we think that means we need to be back on the Camino. But do we? Or do we simply need to recall the experience and connect with others who have shared the experience? I've been exploring these questions as I wade through my reentry, and one of the things I've been pondering is what is at the heart of the Camino experience? What is it that we feel on the Camino? I think it comes down to inspiration. We feel inspired to take on big challenges, to take the next step, to connect and to be kind and supportive, to help. How do we return home then? I love this question because, as I have said many times before, questions tune the soul. They initiate the quest. And the quest here is to bring this home and keep the Camino spirit alive. To this end, I want to share something with you, something I've been working on. Back in January, I surveyed my email list and asked them what they would like me to focus on next. The response was unanimous. Every person who answered my survey said they need and want help with what happens after the Camino. Well, it's no wonder after what I've just described, right? So I put together an advisory team and asked them what they wished I offered that I don't currently offer. And you know what they said? They said they wished there was a way for them to meet and get to know other people who listen to this podcast, to connect with them, to share their experiences, and to keep the spirit of the Camino experience alive together. It's brilliant, right? Each week you listen to me or to me and a guest, but you don't ever get to meet any of the people who listen to and love this podcast. It got me thinking, what if I built that? What if we had a place to gather, to share our stories, to help each other bring this thing home, to walk together through the post-Camino blues, and here's the big vision, to support each other in bringing the spirit of the Camino into our families, our circles of friends, and our communities. Someplace not on social media where the algorithm is in charge of what we see and our conversations fade into the background, and where judgment and snarkiness pop up daily. How about someplace with the same tone as this podcast? Kindness, encouragement, support, and a notable lack of judgment, where you all could meet up. That's what I'm working on for you, along with my advisory team, and in the next few weeks, I will be sharing more about it. If this resonates with you, I'm going to invite you to join me right at the start so you can help guide and shape what this is to become. It doesn't matter where you are in your post-Camino journey. If you have walked one of the Camino routes, then this is for you. And if you haven't yet walked, there will be, of course, a place for you too. So that's in the works, more to come. But for now, I want to share with you 2 tips for your return home from the Camino as a way to wrap up this episode. The first of the tips is the best friend of one of my favorite getting started tips, which is, you may remember, don't rush the start. Here's the tip. Don't rush the finish or the re-entry. Take your time in Santiago, or if you can, plan to spend some time elsewhere in Spain before you fly home. Maybe some time in Finisterre or Murcia would do the trick. And when you get home, take it easy for the first week or 2. Keep your commitments light and choose carefully who you spend time with. Now, you don't have to go full-on Facebook reel scrolling like I did, but take that time for yourself and be gentle with yourself. The second tip is to get to know your expectations. We all have them. For me, the first time I walked the Camino back in 2005, I expected the Camino to clear up what I was supposed to do with my life. I thought that by walking the Camino, I would know for sure what that was, and then I would return to the U.S. and immediately get started on that. Not so much. When you get to know your expectations, you can begin to see which ones are realistic and which ones aren't, and then you can adapt. When returning home from the Camino now, I like to keep my expectations of myself low for at least a week. You saw that already, right? What that actually means, though, is no big challenging projects, no unnecessary deadlines, no giant to-do list. I want the time and the quiet to be able to listen to my heart and mind, to be able to hear what it is I am longing for. Usually, what I'm longing for is, most immediately, to be back in Spain and back on the Camino. But that isn't usually possible, right? So, I need to get to the heart of what it is I'm missing. As you already heard, this just happened. When I got back from the Camino on May 22nd, I did take it slow, or so I thought. My first week back was wholly unproductive, but I just let that be. And I hung out on Facebook, I know. Yeah, we know. In my business, I took care of admin tasks, I answered emails, and this was smart. I planned future meetings for 3 weeks out. Well, in all of this, in all the wasted time and in all of the smart decisions, I did notice what I shared with you a few moments ago about inspiration. I noticed that I was expecting to feel inspired and uplifted like I typically do on the Camino or when I'm sharing stories here on the podcast. And I wasn't. I was feeling completely ho-hum about everything. Uninspired, unconnected. I'll even say not interested, which is a huge problem when my business, my job, is the Camino. Can you see the problem? How do I create content? How do I produce podcast episodes to inspire future and past pilgrims if I am not inspired? All of this is to let you know it happens to me too. So, what do you do when you feel like this? First, expect it. Try not to be surprised by it. And then second, ask yourself what you need right now and try to be specific. This was the one win in the first couple weeks home for me, that I kept asking myself this question, what do I need right now? When I thought about what I needed my first week back, as I was moping through my post-Camino blues, I realized I needed 2 things. 1, I needed inspiration. And 2, I needed to feel as though I was part of something bigger than myself. As it happened, my timing was perfect. That first weekend back was the start of the 2025 AIDS Life Cycle Ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and my church had a team participating in the ride. I think I shared about this ride way back in season 1 or 2. and I shared that I had participated in the ride in 2018. This is a massive event with 2,500 cyclists riding 565 miles in 7 days and 700 or so volunteer roadies supporting them by providing a tent city, 3 meals a day plus water and snacks, mobile showers and toilets, road safety and navigation support, bike maintenance as needed, uplifting entertainment, an incredible sense of community, and connection to something way bigger than ourselves. And then there is the main goal of the ride, to raise funds to support those living with HIV and AIDS, and to ultimately end AIDS. The opening ceremony for this year's ride was Sunday, June 1st, and it was extraordinary, incredibly moving and inspiring, just what I needed. And by the way, this is why I lost my voice last week, for last week's episode, because I was yelling and cheering for the riders for most of that day. I'll say, even now, I am filled with emotion when I think about the AIDS Life Cycle team and what they were doing. Just as I am when I think about pilgrims starting in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and pilgrims arriving in Santiago, and all those moments in between when we come up against something hard or challenging, when we find that strength within and do something we didn't know we were capable of. I think that emotion is what we are after, that feeling of being alive and connected to each other and to life and to God, that feeling of being inspired. As I drove south to San Francisco in the wee hours of that Sunday morning to attend the opening ceremony and cheer on my team as they rode out with the other riders, I was reminded that there is inspiration all around us. On Saturday, June 7th, the cyclists rode across the finish line in Santa Monica, California, having completed a grueling, life-changing 565-mile journey surrounded and supported by what is affectionately called the love bubble. The Camino is like that for many pilgrims, a love bubble, or at least a bubble of inspiration, community, and support. There is no opening ceremony for walking the Camino, but why can't we create our own celebrations and mark the beginning of the journey with the significance it deserves? And what is our finish line? Well, that's the challenge. Many see Santiago as the end of the pilgrimage, or Fistera or Muxía, but our journey never ends. How do we bring home the Camino experience, my friends? How do we fill our lives with what I call Camino-grade experiences? See, I love to pose questions, and I'd love to know your answers. If you have already walked the Camino, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know this has been a lot of sort of rambling about bringing the Camino home, but I'd love to hear, what has been the secret of your success in bringing home your pilgrimage? I would especially love to hear from you, and I would love to have you as a guest on the podcast if you have walked more than one Camino or pilgrimage, which means you have returned home more than once. You can email me at nancy@thecaminoexperience.com. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast to share about your coming home experiences, you can let me know you're interested by following the link in the show notes. If you have yet to walk the Camino, we will walk through this together. How do we tell our Camino stories? How do we maintain our walking strength? How do we choose and go after the next big thing? How do we bring the Camino spirit into our families, communities, and the world? I'll tell you how. We do it together. Stay with me, because I have a lot of good stuff coming your way. Until next time.